Greetings, everyone. My name is Thomas. I'm your host for today's presentation, and I've got a great guest here, Blair Arn. Our topic of discussion is how to break through a financial bottleneck, achieve health, wealth, success by serving others. My guest, Blair Arn, has 2 degrees from the University of Saskatchewan, a Bachelor of Education and a Bachelor of Science, both with distinction. Blair spent 21 years teaching and being an administrator in the public school system in Saskatoon and Dinsmore, Saskatchewan. So welcome, Blair. I'm so honored to have you as a guest on Wired for Health, Wealth, Success today. How's everything today?
It is great, Thomas. I'm honored and my pleasure to be here. I think it's exciting what you've got going on. I know your background in the acupuncture area has brought out a love for people and help them become healthier. My background in teaching has been one of helping people as well. My wife and I got into business actually 30 years ago, and we've been in business now for the past 30 years, primarily in the business of helping people get financial independence. But the topics you've got lined up for today are some really important ones to discuss. And to tell people it's a process. There's no magic formula. It's all a process, just like getting healthy, as you would know, Thomas, from your background. People don't come to see you once and, hey, I'm cured, I'm healthy, I'm 100% now, do they?
No, they definitely don't. It takes time, and it's a devotion, a dedication. As with everything, what we put into something is what we get out of it. That's what I always say. So I've got some awesome questions, and I know there's a lot of people that they're excited about this topic, how to break through a financial bottleneck, achieve health, wealth, success by serving others. So let's talk a little about important solutions on how the audience can resolve the impeded flow of a financial bottleneck from your experience and your opinion, Blair.
Yeah, good question, Thomas. A financial bottleneck to me is when someone reaches a point in their life when they feel they just can't get ahead anymore financially. And to me, that's the bottleneck. And it doesn't really matter what your income level is, and that's the thing that people don't understand. There's some people that are happy and excited with their lives at $40,000 a year. Some people are not happy at $400,000 a year. The amount of money isn't the key. What is the key is the happiness a person has. So the key to breaking through a financial bottleneck, if there's something holding you back, I think has to do with your happiness in your life. And your happiness in your life comes upon a few things, and we'll kind of overlap a few topics here. But happiness in your life is the way you have to move on. And happiness comes from, what do I want to accomplish out of life? That becomes the key. And if I need more money financially to do that, then what I have to start doing or examining is how can I do that? And there's kind of an interesting thing. It's called the hero's journey, and this is a 4,000-year-old truth. And it is interesting though. And we see so much in modern society that people are living vicariously through athletes, through movie stars, singers, where they go to movies and for 2 hours they feel good about themselves, and they go home and they're unhappy, right? So, or they go watch a ball game like the World Series is wrapped up, right? And they found their self-worth in that ball game. I got nothing against watching sports or movies, don't get me wrong. But the problem is, if they're focused, that becomes the focus of their life. Their happiness is there. They'll never be financially solid. They'll never have that bottleneck cured because they're living vicariously through that other person rather than through their life. So what they really got to do, I think, is ask themselves this simple question. What 2 things would I like to accomplish more out of my life? And be specific about that. Let's say money and travel, for sake of argument, right? Money and travel. Yeah, but everybody wants more time. They want more money. They want to travel more. Okay, not everybody. I've used generality, but what specifically? Man, I want more time so that I can coach my son's soccer team. Fantastic. But I work 20 hours a day. Okay, so now I need to create more money short term so that I can have more time to coach my son's soccer team. And the first key to really helping get rid of those bottlenecks is clearly identify what you want to accomplish. That becomes the keys. And I hate to say it, but most times it's not more money. That is not going to do it. And that's the problem. Most will get to the point where it's all about the money. It's not. It's what things do you want to accomplish.
So
does that kind of help in that?
Absolutely. And I'd like to share a little bit so people can see the correlation here. So, for example, a goal is a blueprint. So when I was in my 20s, I used to do AutoCAD, computer-aided drafting. And so working for an architect, we need basically a site plan, and the site plan has all of the information of all the elevations of everything. So long-term foundation. Just imagine if you placed your home on a low elevation, like in a swamp, hey, that would be a terrible place to live, right? Building a house in a low spot. So the site plan shows all the elevations of the land. That's the foundation of the plans. And so basically a person wants to have their foundation built high enough so that there's a gradual slope away from the building, and it's typically a 2% grade away from the building, so that when it does rain and when it does pour, that rain doesn't go in the basement, it goes elsewhere. And we all need a plan. We need goals in our life, something to shoot for. And yes, we're living in the present moment, but in the present moment, we are preparing for our future moments. We are already focusing on what we're going to be doing, 6 months from now, 12 months from now, a year from now, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. What do you like to be doing 5 years from now, Blair? I always like to ask these questions, and I'd like to ask that for everybody in the audience. Where do you see yourself 5 years from now? Where do you see yourself 1 year from now? And this is really important. Yeah. I feel we need to have a blueprint. We need to have goals. We need to have something to strive, achieve, and look forward to accomplishing in our lives.
Yeah. So, and it's really important, Tom, I 100% agree. It's really important that those goals be tied to what they really want. And that's not something that their neighbor wants or their dad wants or their children want. It's what they want. That's where it's really important to understand that. And if they can understand that, then those goals tie into, and I'll talk about it a little later on, their definite major purpose to get there. And that becomes so key. Because if they can get those goals and understand where I want to be in a year or 5 years from now and tie that to a definite major purpose in their life, that is so important, because that, your definite major purpose, put it this way, if you've never, and I could do an hour on definite major purpose and I won't, but think of it this way, what is your burning desire? That's really got to be reflected in your goals. If your burning desire is to, you and your wife to own a house in Mexico, let's say, that's your burning desire. We want to retire to Mexico, we want to live on the beach. If that's your burning desire, okay, then now go back to, as Thomas says, go back to your blueprint, your goals. When do I want to get that? Because that's the answer to the two things I want, become a burning desire. My blueprint is, when do I want to get that? Let's say it's 5 years out. Okay, what do I need to do next year and the year after, the year after, and the year after? So 5 years from now, my blueprint, my goals have made that fit.
Absolutely. Awesome.
Yeah.
So here's another awesome question. So what's so important about mindset, Blair? What's the importance of that?
That's the $1 million question right there. The mindset is where it's at. A good friend and mentor of mine, a fellow called John Haremza, who's been very successful in the business that Thomas and I met through. He he says the number one thing we have to do is work on mindset. And there's an interesting book I'm reading, and I'll talk about the books in a second here. The power we have without all comes from the power within, which is our mindset. That's really what it's all about. And there's really 3 books that I'm reading right now and the one thing different now, that because we reached that bottleneck where we were too, and that's why it's very timely. So to get past that bottleneck for my wife and I, my wife Faye and I, we had to start working at our mindset to get past that. And when I say reading 3 books, I'm not going to say read, I will say study 3 books. Because what I found out now in the last year is it's not about how many books I can read, it's how well I can study those books. And for example, one book that you may have heard of is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Right.
Okay? It became a study where we actually study this book. And I got a couple of chapters that are marked. One, you'll see is all marked up. It's called The Principle of Auto-Suggestion.
Yeah.
And then the other one that has become key to our business is The Power of the Mastermind. Those are 2 chapters, 2 of the 13 chapters that are key. But this whole book is on mindset. The other one is this one, The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino.
Nice.
And we just started studying that one. But I read this book 20 years ago, but I read it. Now I'm studying it. And one thing I didn't realize that in here there's the scrolls. You're supposed to read each scroll for 30 days before you go on to the next scroll. So it is a study book. And the third book I'm spending a lot of time in is called The Master Key Experience Master Key Systems by a fellow called Charles Hanel. And it's interesting that Master Key System was featured on The Secret. Everybody's heard of The Secret, like the movie The Secret and the book The Secret.
Right.
Well, that's I forget when it came out, probably 15 years ago or something like that, like just ballpark, because I didn't research it. This book was first published in 1917.
Oh, wow.
The secrets in this book are not new, but they are still there. And it's all about the power of the mind. If you can learn to control your mind and therefore your subconscious mind, I'll get in, and Thomas knows as much about this as anybody, if you can control your subconscious mind, that will break through any of the problems you've got. A lot of the mindset problems we have come from our subconscious mind giving us negative feedback from the negativity that we've put in there. I'm 66, so for the last 66 years, I've had negative input from society, from news, from neighbors, from people, that negative input into my mind. Mm-hmm. So what we have to do, and the subconscious mind takes that and acts on it. So if you want to change your outcome, you've got to change the programming in your subconscious mind. Is so key.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thanks for sharing. And so here's another question here. Actually, when I was in, that's when I actually was in about grade 10 or so, I got this book called Study Smarter, Not Harder. And in this book, it talked a lot about working with mind maps and the subconscious. So, for example, when you're studying for an exam, the brain works much like a computer filing system. So you have your general file folder, and then you have subfolders within that. And the brain works the same way. So I'll give you an example. Say you're studying the digestive system. And so you have digestion as your main category, and then within that you have subcategories. So the digestion of carbohydrates, and then you have fats, and then you have all of the different amino acids. So you have different amino acids you have different enzymes that work with the amino acids. And so this is all structured in a way so that you can see the big picture with the subconscious mind right away in a mind map. Rather than having to read 500 pages, you basically rewrite all of this information into a map. So it's more of a subconscious way of seeing things. And then you can also use colors to highlight. So say, for example, I use a yellow highlighter for carbohydrates. I use a green highlighter for fats. And for proteins, I'll use a red highlighter. So these are like the different categories. And then my subconscious mind will see this in the mind map, and it'll get the big picture right away, and it will memorize it. And then when I'm there in the exam and I'm writing my exam, I can bring up this mind map within me, and I can actually retrieve the information very quickly, because that's actually how the brain works in this categorization. So that's one way to work smarter rather than harder. It is time consuming to rewrite all your notes in a mind map, but once you have the mind map done, it's so easy to study that. It's far easier to study a mind map than it is to study 500 pages of text. So
right.
That's why it's a smarter way of studying. And so so how can we work smarter rather than harder, in your opinion, Blair?
Well, your idea of the mind map and the colors is pretty interesting, because the work that I'm doing right now with one of our mentors is kind of on the same idea. So if you have what's called what we call personal pivotal needs, things that are important to you in your life, mine are helping others and legacy. Those are things that are important, kind of like two important goals for my life. Mm-hmm. So what we've done is he's got us to associate a color, whether it be red, blue, green, yellow, whatever color you want, associate a color with that. And then what we've gone through is our definite major purpose. I talk about that. So you take time to develop with whoever you're mentoring with and talking about what your definite major purpose is, that burning desire that you've got, right?
Right.
And that burning desire is in your definite major purpose. You actually go through and you put the colors, like, hey, this part of it, because not a burning desire is usually one statement. It's usually a couple of lines long, but this might deal with legacy. Let's say you're using blue for legacy. So you put that. And the other thing we're doing is we're using shapes too. So a blue square. And then helping others might be green triangles. So with the idea of the mind map you're doing, what happens is if you're out and every time you see a green triangle, that will actually visually trigger that part of your definite major purpose.
Right on.
And people say, well, where would I see a green triangle? Well, every time you see an evergreen tree, you see a green triangle, right? So you pick colors and shapes that you know you're going to see, and it triggers it. Then what you do is you go to your next step, working smart, exactly what you're talking about with a mind map. Now what you do is you go to your written plan of action. What do I want to accomplish? And I would start with this month, okay? And in our business is orientated around goals of volume and customers, right?
Right.
So what do I want to accomplish with that? Okay, I want to hit 30,000 volume this month. Okay, so that means I got to do 7,500 every week. So I put those on my written plan of action. So I do that monthly, then weekly, and then I break it down into what's called my daily method of operation. And every time I have my daily method of operation, you can then put that same color, that blue rectangle or the green triangle, beside each one of those. And every time you look at your planner, and it stimulates in your mind that mind map you're talking about, but that's exactly what it's doing. So you're not always having to read everything. Once you've read it a few times, because your subconscious will internalize that, and it internalizes the color and the shape, right. All of a sudden you're driving down the road and you see a semi-trailer driving by that's got a blue trailer, it's a blue rectangle, that triggers instantly in your subconscious mind that thought, and that's exactly what you're talking about. So that's exactly, we're on 100% the same wavelength there, my friend.
And let's touch base a little bit on attitude and gratitude and appreciation. This AM, I actually gave you a What's Up attitude of gratitude, just to show you what I'm projecting out there. And the reason why I do this and I start my day with attitude of gratitude it's the best way to start the day. It is.
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
that's the snowball that's building momentum throughout the rest of the day.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
so it's like those first thoughts when you first open your eyes, and it's my experience is it's best not to wake up to an alarm system unless it's some pleasant, say for example, something that is not distractive to the subconscious mind. So I'll give you an example. There's a clock called a Zen alarm clock, and that uses just the sound of a bell or a gong, but it's a pleasant sound. It's not a harsh alarm sound, but not getting up to say a radio rant or like a rock like AC/DC Thunderstruck or something like that. It's more about okay, right?
Yeah.
Because you're starting your day, and the first thing you hear, that's what the subconscious is picking up. So start it, in my opinion, with a dialogue that you create. So, for example, you open your eyes and you say, I'm so happy and grateful that I'm experiencing and co-creating my own life continuously. And I'm attracting the best relationships to myself. And I'm focusing on my own robust health, wealth, vitality, and this is continuously. And so what happens is that's what you're telling your subconscious mind. And we are what we think, we are what we eat, we are what we drink. I always share that with patients. So that's just a wonderful way of basically starting the day and starting the day off on the right foot rather than, rolling out of bed to a bunch of noise and then just like hitting the alarm and then just like having this noise in the head, right? That's what a lot of those alarms do. And a lot of the stuff, like you're saying, we have to filter out the negative programming. Like, for example, if the music on the radio is depressing music, it's talking about, like, what's 90% of the songs out there are talking about loss of love and types of things like that. It's just depressing stuff. It's unbelievable how depressing some of that stuff is on the radio these days. So I encourage everybody to tune out, filter out all those distracting noises so that the subconscious doesn't have to deal with that noise. Yeah, so attitude to gratitude.
100%.
Yeah, super important. And that's a part of mindset because actually there was a HeartMath Research Institute. They did this study where they found out that just 3 minutes of care, compassion, gratitude, appreciation for anyone or anything stimulates the immune system to produce more white blood cells for up to 7 hours. That's in the saliva.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
So,
well, give me Thomas here. In the book Greatest Salesman, on page 56, it says, as the words of these scrolls are consumed by my mysterious mind, the mysterious mind is your subconscious, I begin to awake each morning with a vitality that I've never known before. My vigor increases, my enthusiasm rises, and my desire to meet the world overcomes every fear I once knew at sunrise. And I am happier than I ever believed possible to be in this world of strife and sorrow. So,
that's powerful.
Totally what you're saying, and these books have been around for generations, and the truths are so key.
That's awesome. There's one thing that we're getting some comments over here. Just a shout out to Faye Arn. Hey Faye, as well. David Lopez. Shout out to David Lopez. So we've got people tuning in. And feel free to be interactive with us here, live streaming on Facebook, Wired for Health, Wealth, Success. Yep. If you have questions for Blair Arn and myself, feel free to add in the dialogue here, please. Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, thanks so much, Blair, for sharing that. It's awesome. Um, I was like, I love my life. Just waking up and then opening the eyes and just saying, I love my life. Like that's just powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And even
Yeah.
looking into the mirror and seeing my own reflection, and I say back to myself, I honor the space in which I exist. I honor myself. I love, honor, respect myself. That's so important.
Yeah.
And just to
Positive affirmations.
yeah, just to present that energy, I always say everything is energy and anything is possible because everything is energy. So the primary energy that I love to share with others, and as a healer, it's vital to have positive life force energy 24/7. It's so critical because there's a transference of energy that does happen, and so it's important to keep that positive 24/7.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, and that makes your subconscious mind focus on that. And once your subconscious mind focuses only on positive success, growth, and health, that's what's reflected in your life because you believe that. Every time you speak it, you speak positive health and life, and so that's really what it's about. Yep.
Awesome. Let's get into more of the financial discussion. And I know you're a numbers. You like to talk about numbers, Blair. So my next question is about actually income and leverage. So
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about income that reoccurs with or without you. And this is a question that I find I've only learned about this leverage by studying Valentis. So
Right.
previous to Valentis, I actually haven't even heard of that term leverage before. So could you share a little bit of yeah, well, yeah, in the way that it's used with Valentis anyway.
Yeah. Okay. It really leverage. Come back to leverage. Let's talk first about residual income because I think that's the key.
Okay.
Most people have heard of something called residual income, which is income that occurs whether you're there to make it or not. And typically, most people think of residual income as either, for example, authors or musicians. Okay, for example, most people have heard of Elvis Presley. I'm guessing.
Right.
Most people have heard of Elvis Presley. Right, but very few people actually saw Elvis Presley perform either live or on a show when he was alive. And the reason I'm saying that is because Elvis Presley died in 1977.
Right.
Okay? But Elvis's estate makes more money now than it did when Elvis was alive.
Right.
That's residual income because what he did was he had such an amazing skill and Michael Jackson, same thing, and like tons and tons of musicians, same thing. They've got such an amazing skill that their abilities live beyond their physical lives to perform, and they keep making money for their families or their estates or whatever. That is true residual income. The only problem with some people, me being one of them, is I can't carry a tune in a bucket, let alone try and sing a song and have people buy it. The other thing is authors. Charles Hannell's estate still makes money. This book was published in 1917. This book is still in print, and it gets printed and sold every year. That is a way that people can actually derive a ton of income. Again, you have to have that knack to make that work, and it's possible. So those are what most people think of in terms of residual income. Okay, most people can't do that. So what we need to do then take a look at is how can we get into residual income through leverage, and this is really what Thomas is talking about. Think of Tim Hortons. Everybody's heard of Tim Hortons. Okay, the amazing franchise. Whoever owns the distribution for the province of Alberta, let's say, whoever was lucky enough, and I don't know whether there is a master franchisee for the province of Alberta or not, but there certainly would be for the city of Edmonton or the city of Calgary. So that person got that franchise back whenever for X number of dollars. And I don't know how many Tim Hortons there are in Edmonton. I would have no guess. 100, 200. There's a lot of Tim Hortons, right?
Yeah, at least over 100.
Yeah, so what the owner of that master franchise is able to do is to leverage his income, because he makes a little bit on each Tim Hortons store.
Right.
Not a bunch, just a little bit on each Tim Hortons store. So he's now leveraged his income because he's got multiple centers of business going on. And that is how we talk about leverage. We establish multiple business centers that develop income. The fellow who bought the McDonald's franchise for Northern Saskatchewan, I think in the late 50s, early 60s, he actually had the franchise for Saskatoon and Prince Albert. I think he had North Battle, but I know those we had for sure. He bought them both for, I'm not going to give the numbers, but not a whole bunch of money. 5 years later, he sold the Prince Albert franchise for more than he paid for both. And then in Saskatoon, he set up probably 7 different McDonald's stores. And so therefore he had leveraged his time, effort, and energy because each store was open and he was making money a little bit on each store.
So another example, I've got one there too for you, Blair. So the Apple manufactured Square, and Square is a point of sale, excuse me, a point of sale for retail. So taking Interact and taking credit cards, right? Mm-hmm. So the person or the corporation or whoever produced this Square, I'm sure they've got it figured out so that there's a percentage of every transaction that actually goes to the developer of it or the manufacturer. I'm sure they've got that all figured out so that there is leverage in that way too, so that every single transaction there's a percentage that goes to them.
Absolutely, that's exactly the same principle. So the way we do that in the Valentis business is you start your business by yourself, but you're not in business by yourself. You're in business with, for example, Tom is in business with the person who brought him in business, Kevin and Corey, and their friends Kelly and Shelley and Faye and I. We're all in business together. Our goal is to help Thomas grow his business through multiple other businesses. In other words, setting up consumers around Edmonton and around the world who use and buy products. You see, Tim Hortons is an amazing business, but if no one buys coffee, Tim Hortons doesn't make much money.
Right.
Okay? Now, they got bakery goods and all that, but you get the idea. So if no one drank coffee, Tim Hortons' business model fails. Because they're a coffee company, right? McDonald's now, if you've noticed, I'm not sure, and again, I apologize, I haven't been to Edmonton now in a couple of years, but most McDonald's in Saskatchewan now are rebranding as McCafes.
Right.
In other words, they're now in the coffee business big time, and they've got a tremendous cup of coffee. So what they're saying is coffee now is an important part of our business plan going forward, too. And I have no idea what percentage of revenue it is. But same thing, if no one goes into McDonald's and no one buys a cup of coffee or a beverage, they lose revenue. So it's all about multiple consumers buying products. That's how you get leveraged income. And that's really what we do in our concept with Valentis, is we're establishing a huge group of consumers worldwide, consumers that buy our healthy products. And anybody who knows Thomas, you need to spend time listening to his information on some of our products. I'm drinking one right here. It's called Black Water. It's an incredible product. It's a mineralization product, which has done amazing health benefits for my wife and I. And Tom's got right there in a small bottle. It comes in a little squirt bottle like that. You put a couple squirts in a big bottle. We do have coffee, which is a healthy coffee. I love coffee. I'm a coffee drinker. I'm one of the people who was a Tim Hortons regular until I got my own coffee right there, the Optimum Coffee. You have your Max handy there too?
Yes, I do.
And the Max is a spray that mineralizes. I'm not giving all the health benefits. So really, those are 3 of the phenomenal healthy products we've got that we're just establishing networks for distribution. As people buy those products worldwide, you derive a small benefit on each sale. When I go in to buy a cup of coffee at Tim Hortons, $2, let's say, the master franchisee for Tim Hortons in Regina does not get $2. It just doesn't have it. He maybe gets a penny on that. But the fact there's 800,000 cups of coffee a day sold in Regina means that penny adds up. That's really the same idea that we're doing. We're setting up a distribution where you have thousands of consumers utilizing products for their own health, their own benefit, how to make themselves feel better, and you drive a little benefit in each one. That's the power of leverage in business, and that can develop residual income long term.
Right on. Awesome. Okay, thanks so much for sharing. I really appreciate it, Blair. So,
no problem, Thomas. Love talking about that.
Okay. So let's get on this topic back into health here. So this one, what do you think about this? Is our health real wealth? So, like, what is your health worth to you, Blair, when I ask, what's the value of your health?
Your health is everything. Because, I don't know where it came from, but, if you visit someone who's on their deathbed, they're dying, they never say, man, I wish I had worked a couple more hours at the office. I wish I had another $100 or I wish I had another $1,000. It's all, man, I wish I had another 10 years to live to spend with my family. Your health is the one thing that we really have to work at. That's why I love the company we work with, Valentis. Our products are in the health industry, and it's actually the first business I've ever been in that's focused on health, and I got to meet so many neat people like Thomas here through this, people who are involved in the health industry in their careers, health and wellness. It just makes me feel so good that they have a passion for that, and they can help people like myself, who that really wasn't a major concern. I was a driven personality. But you reach a certain point in your life, you're saying, man, health is really where it's at. And if you've got your health, everything else will fall into place, because then your mind is good, your body's good, and you feel good about yourself, and you run every day on a positive aspect.
Right on. And that's exactly what I like to share with the patients that come to see me for acupuncture, that our foundational health, it's imperative. Because if we ourselves do not have robust health and vitality, how are we going to be of service to others? It's impossible. We need to take care of ourselves first. And I run into this all the time, where there's patients that are just burnt right out, and they're not taking their health as their number one priority. And so I bring up the discussion about the oxygen mask. So if the plane is going down, if the jet's going down, and all of the oxygen masks fall down from the overhead compartment, what do? Do you start putting on your family members' oxygen masks before you put on your own? Or do you put yours on before you put on others, before you start helping others? So here's the problem. So if the oxygen mask's come down, and say it's me, and I'm starting putting on oxygen mask for people on my right side and my left side, okay? If I'm not getting oxygen myself, which is vital to life, I can instantly pass out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm number one. I need to be taking care of myself first. I have to love, honor, appreciate, respect myself first and foremost. That means when that oxygen mask comes down, I have to put that on first myself, take care of myself, and then I can help others.
Mm-hmm.
I can be of service, I can be of assistance, and if my energy is like a 10 out of 10, well, I sure will be able to help people, because I'll be able to think fast, I'll have the energy, I'll have the willpower, I'll have the determination, I'll be driven, I'll be unstoppable, and I'll just be super passionate, and I'll be sharing that with everybody. And that's why I created this Wired for Health, Wealth, Success on Facebook and Instagram, and also the YouTube, because It's about sharing what works. And my experience is that these products are incredible. These are incredible products. And for example, the minerals here, these are both mineral products. I've shared with Blair and Zoom calls with Blair, and also with Don Carson, and it's on a YouTube there with Don Carson. The importance of minerals. Can I just jump into this discussion here? This is just an awesome topic.
Oh, absolutely.
So here's the situation, and this situation is a worldwide situation. This is not just a local situation. Okay, so this is a statistic that I've found, and super important. I always say, when it comes to minerals, our body is composed 5% mineral, and that 5% controls 95% of all biochemistry. That means all chemical reactions are dependent on minerals. Minerals are the precursors to enzymes, vitamins, and hormones. So if a person is deficient in minerals, none of the other stuff gets created. That's the problem. So mineral depletion, this is Dr. August Dunning, and he says mineral depletion of the soil is so bad in the U.S. that in 1997 you'd have to eat 26 apples to get the same amount of iron from an apple eaten in 1950. So even if you are juicing 26 apples to equal 1 apple, that's a lot of juice, right? That's a lot of juicing. We know that Jack LaLanne, the inventor of the Power Juicer Elite, he was juicing 5 out of 7 days a week. He lived up to 95 years old. When he did pass away, story is, he was at home and he was watching the football game. So, that's the way to go. He's probably pretty relaxed there in an environment where he's comfortable. But bottom line here is that the mineral levels in the soil have drastically dropped. And in North America, the statistic is that they're 85% low. Okay? Over the last 100 years, the mineral levels in agricultural soils in North America are 85% deficient. That's not a good thing. And why is it that way? Well, a patient of mine who's also a farmer is sharing, in the 1960s, he was around when all of the practices were changing, the agricultural practices. And so I share, I grew up in a farm in Saskatchewan, and we always gave back to the soil. Meaning, if we're going to take carrots and beets and onions and corn and peas and beans and all these things from the garden, we're going to take nutrients from the soil over and over. We have to give back because it's a universal law. In order to give, we have to be able to receive, and in order to receive, we have to be able to give. It's a natural law of the universe. We have to put the minerals back in the soil. We can't just take. It's like withdrawing from a bank account incessantly and not depositing money back into the bank account, right? So we need to be taking care of our soil and putting minerals back into the soil, or letting our soil regenerate. So here's the problem, and we've got solutions. So with health, I'm finding that the toxicities in the body and the energy levels, 90% of everybody I see is adrenal burnout, meaning their blood pressure doesn't rise when they stand up, it drops. So that means that their adrenals are not producing enough adrenaline to do vasoconstriction to get the blood pressure up to the upper body, to the head and to the brain and to the lungs and all that. So we got a burnt out society that needs minerals. That's the bottom line. And we have to take care of our environment. We have to take care of basically ourselves and everything. That's just the way things are going. But yeah, to tie back into the Prevail Max, there's actually 80 trace minerals in here. 80 trace minerals. And yeah, they're essential to life. What can I say? That's one of the most important things that we can be taking into our body. I'd like to share another mentor of mine, Dr. Dick Versendaal. This is actually really important, and I'd like to share this. And I haven't shared this yet, but now's the time. So I went to meet Versendaal in Toronto in 2004, and he presented, he said, we're not drinking water here at this convention. Okay. So, well, why? Well, what's in water? So he said, okay, let's talk about this. He said, I haven't drank water since age 4. So everybody wonders, well, what does Dr. Versendaal drink if he doesn't drink water? Okay, and everybody said, I look at people's tongue and they got a bunch of cracks in their tongue. They got yin deficiency cracks. So they say, do I need to drink more water, Doc? So that's why I share this story. So Versendaal says, okay, he met a mechanic, and his mechanic said, Versendaal, if you like to get the best performance and longevity out of your vehicle, you're not going to put watered down regular gas in that tank. And you're probably not going to put mid-grade in either. You're going to put the highest octane fuel you can to get the best performance and to get the best life out of that vehicle, that engine, everything. So Versendaal explains it this way. He says, this analogy, your regular gasoline, that's like your tap water, okay? And what's in tap water? We got halides like chlorine and fluoride that inhibit iodine, because iodine is a central mineral, which is also a halide. And every single cell in the body has a receptor site for iodine. And Dr. David Brownstein found out that 97% of the population is deficient in iodine because of these competition and inhibition from these other halides. So we have to be even careful on the quality of what we consume, meaning filtering, distilling, Berkey filter, all these different ways of now purifying the water. But back onto the conversation. So regular gasoline is watered down gas, and it's essential to tap water, essentially tap water. And then mid-grade, he says, mid-grade is like, well, what do you see a lot of the sports teams consuming? These sugary electrolyte waters. So they have these football players, hockey players, and basketball, all these sports, right? And they usually run commercials. If you're watching a game, a football game or something like, they'll usually run a commercial on one of these things, electrolyte drink. So we won't name any here, but everybody's got an idea of what usually goes on, right? So he says, well, that's like your mid-grade gasoline. They've added minerals, but this is man-made stuff, and it's not natural things. For example, a 12-carbon sugar, like your typical table sugar, it breaks down from a 12, and then by the time it gets to a 6-carbon sugar, it's actually alcohol. And then it has to break down to a 5-carbon sugar, which then is usable. So there's this conversion that has to take place with this stuff, and it's just demanding on the body. It's energy consuming. So more goes into it than comes out of it is the bottom line. So he said mid-grade gasoline, your sports drinks, that's not quite the solution there. So he says, now what have they been doing forever? When you look at things like Chinese medicine. And what do they have with every meal? Some green tea, right? When you look at Chinese medicine, there's decoctions. They're electrolyte decoctions. You might have 25 grams of herbs, and they're boiled with, say, 10 cups of water, and that 10 cups of water is boiled down and concentrated to 2 cups. So that's called a decoction. So it's a concentration now of plant-derived minerals. That's what we're getting at. That's like your highest octane, your super clean, your 94 octane, your premium or better. That's the best fuel that you can put in. So what did Versendal say? We're consuming now plant-derived juice. So what was he doing? He was drinking nectarine juice, fruits and vegetables, plant-derived minerals. So at the very least, add some iodine to your water. At the very least, add some tea leaves to your water, right? So it's putting minerals back into the water and bioavailable plant minerals. So that's what we're doing here, Blair. We're using bioavailable plant minerals, and we're putting that back into our water, so we're getting our highest octane that we can put into our high performance vehicles, the human body, the temple. So There we go. That's Versendal's talk, and I thought that was really interesting that water on its own actually dehydrates the body, and we need those minerals. And those minerals, just imagine, we talked about that, if they're 85% deficient in the soil in North America, if they're not in the soil, well, then the plants that are grown in that soil are also deficient. And then the animals that eat those plants, like, say, grain, you got chickens, turkeys, cows, and all these types of animals eating mineral depleted food, plant-based nutrition. That means that they're also deficient in minerals, and they obviously don't have those minerals in their meat either. So that's the issue we're dealing with here, and this all has to be reversed. And we have to be the ones to solve the problems, because this is us. We're talking about it right now. So yeah,
absolutely.
Anyway, there we go. I'm sure this is going to explode on YouTube. People are going to have something to chat about.
For sure.
Right on.
I just want to finish off here with a quote out of this book from 1912, 1917. Thomas talks about giving and getting, and it's so important. This is written, don't forget, this is written in the early 1900s. The power is from within. We cannot receive it unless we give it. Use is a condition upon which we hold this inheritance. We are each of us, but the channel through which the omnipotent power is being differentiated into forms, unless we give, the channel is obstructed and we can receive no more. This is true on every plane of existence and in every field of endeavor and all walks of life. The more we give, the more we get. And Thomas is an incredible giver. And the information that he has given today has been just awesome. So I know that he'll be rewarded in many different ways for that. So I appreciate you having me on today, Thomas. I really do. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome. So excited. And the last question was, what is the importance of service to others? Will this help our audience achieve health, wealth, and success by serving others? Absolutely. And we've already answered why, and Blair just said why. Thanks for sharing that, Blair, that amazing, incredible wisdom. And for anyone who's interested in Valentis products, or even focusing on the business aspect, I'm going to have a link here just below our conversation. And you can take a look at the link. You can go to the website. Feel free to visit Wired for Health, Wealth, Success on Facebook, on Instagram, and YouTube. And feel free to find Blair and myself there. You'll find both of us there on Instagram and Facebook. And yeah, we just love sharing. So what we give is what we get. And I like to share this powerful quote from Andrew Jackson Davis. It's actually something I read quite a long time ago from one of Dr. Bernard Jensen's books called The Science and Practice of Iridology. He that hath the truth and keeps it, keeps what not to him belongs, but performs a selfish action and a fellow mortal wrongs. So let's not keep secret what works. Let's not keep this powerful nutrition and this powerful knowledge, this wisdom, secret. Let's share it. Let's convert that knowledge into wisdom for ourselves and have our own direct experience. So thanks so much for being a part of this, Blair. I'm so excited that we were able to connect on here and share out with everybody who's willing to receive this information. And I'm going to encourage, hey, everybody, if you've got somebody that you know will benefit from listening to this, please share it out. And this is just a game changer, really. So thank you for sharing this message, and I look forward to producing more of this type of information with Blair in the future. So everybody, have a fantastic day, and I just really appreciate you all. Thank you.